The morning sun filtered through the ancient oak trees surrounding Kensington Palace as Prince William walked through the private gardens, his mind heavy with the weight of his upcoming responsibilities. The year 2023 had been challenging for the royal family, and William knew that connecting with younger generations would be crucial for the monarchy's future. He had been thinking about this problem for months, searching for a way to show that the royals could be both traditional and relevant to modern society. On this particular Tuesday in June, William had agreed to meet with Taylor Swift, who was in London for her record-breaking Eras tour. The meeting had been arranged by their mutual friend, the renowned music producer Mark Ronson, who believed they could work together on a charitable project. William had always admired Swift's ability to connect with her fans and her dedication to various causes, while Swift was genuinely interested in supporting British charities and understanding more about the royal family's philanthropic work. When Swift arrived at the palace, accompanied by her security team and wearing a simple blue dress that showed respect for the formal setting, William was struck by how down-to-earth she seemed despite her global fame. They walked through the garden together, discussing their shared interests in mental health advocacy and supporting young people facing difficulties. Swift spoke passionately about her work with various organizations, while William shared his experiences with Heads Together, his mental health initiative. As they talked, William mentioned his secret dream of performing music publicly. Few people knew that he had learned piano and guitar as a child and still played privately. Swift's eyes lit up with interest when he confessed that he had always wanted to sing Livin' on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, a song that had special meaning for him since he first heard it during his university years. The anthem had helped him through difficult times, and he believed its message of hope and perseverance could inspire others facing challenges. Swift immediately suggested they could perform together at a charity concert. The idea seemed impossible at first. William thought his advisors would never approve, and the protocols surrounding royal public appearances were incredibly strict. But Swift was persistent, explaining how music had the power to break down barriers and create connections that traditional royal engagements sometimes couldn't achieve. She painted a picture of how their collaboration could raise both awareness and funds for causes they both cared about. The conversation took an unexpected turn when Swift mentioned that she had recently become friends with John Bon Jovi during her time in New York. The rock legend had been incredibly supportive of her career and had even hinted that he would love to collaborate with unlikely partners to keep his music alive for new generations. Swift pulled out her phone and, with William's amazed permission, called Bon Jovi right there in the palace garden. The phone conversation was surreal. Here was a future king of England, standing among centuries-old roses, listening to one of the world's biggest pop stars convince a rock legend to join them in what would become the most unusual musical collaboration in recent history. Bon Jovi's enthusiasm was immediate and infectious. He loved the idea of bridging different musical worlds and was intrigued by the charitable aspect of the project. He agreed to fly to London within the week to meet them both. William spent the next few days in meetings with his private secretaries, trying to convince them that this collaboration could be beneficial for the monarchy's image. The discussions were heated and lengthy. Traditional advisors worried about the risks of such an unconventional public appearance, while more progressive voices argued that it could show the royal family's ability to evolve and connect with contemporary culture. William's passion for the project eventually won them over, especially when he explained how the proceeds could benefit several of his supported charities. Meanwhile, Swift had been working with her team to arrange the logistics of the performance. She had connections with some of London's most prestigious venues and believed they could create an intimate concert setting that would feel special for both the performers and the audience. The challenge was finding a venue that could accommodate the security requirements for a royal appearance while maintaining the authentic rock concert atmosphere that the song demanded. The breakthrough came when they discovered that the Royal Albert Hall had availability for a special charity event. The historic venue seemed perfect. It had hosted countless legendary performances and had the gravitas to make their collaboration feel significant rather than gimmicky. Swift's team began working with the venue's management to plan what they were calling an Evening of Hope, a concert that would feature their Livin' on a Prayer performance as the grand finale. When Bon Jovi arrived in London, he met William and Swift at Abbey Road Studios, the legendary recording studio where the Beatles had created some of their most famous music. The atmosphere was electric as the three of them sat together, discussing their vision for the performance. Bon Jovi was immediately charmed by William's genuine enthusiasm and Swift's professional approach to the project. They spent hours talking about the song's meaning and how they could arrange it to showcase all three of their voices. The first time they sang together was magical. William's voice, though untrained, had a sincerity that complemented Swift's polished vocals and Bon Jovi's powerful rock delivery. They experimented with different arrangements, trying various ways to blend their distinct styles into something cohesive. Bon Jovi suggested that they each take different verses, allowing their individual personalities to shine through while coming together for the chorus. As word of the collaboration began to spread through careful, strategic leaks to the media, public interest reached fever pitch. Social media exploded with speculation about what the performance would sound like and whether Prince William could actually sing. Music critics debated whether the collaboration was a stroke of genius or a potential disaster, while royal watchers analyzed what this meant for the future of the monarchy. The three performers spent the following weeks rehearsing in secret, meeting at various private locations around London to perfect their performance. They worked with a small team of trusted musicians to create a backing arrangement that would support their voices without overwhelming them. Each rehearsal brought them closer together as both collaborators and friends, with William opening up about his hopes for modernizing royal engagement, and Swift and Bon Jovi sharing stories from their decades in the music industry. The friendship that developed between them was unexpected and genuine. William found Swift's work ethic and business acumen inspiring, while being amazed by Bon Jovi's stories of rock and roll history. Swift appreciated William's dedication to his charitable causes and his willingness to step outside his comfort zone for something he believed in. Bon Jovi was impressed by both of their commitment to using their platforms for positive change. As the date of the performance approached, the pressure began to mount. This wasn't just three friends singing together anymore. It had become a cultural event that people around the world would be watching and judging. The stakes felt enormous, but the bond between the three performers had grown strong enough to handle the pressure. They believed in what they were doing and in each other's ability to pull it off. The final rehearsals took place at the Royal Albert Hall itself, giving them a chance to experience the acoustics and atmosphere of the venue where they would soon make history. Standing on that iconic stage, looking out at the empty seats that would soon hold 3,000 people, they felt the weight of what they were about to accomplish. The performance was no longer just about raising money for charity. It had become a symbol of how different worlds could come together to create something beautiful and meaningful. The weeks leading up to the performance were filled with challenges that none of the three collaborators had anticipated. William faced intense scrutiny from both the media and members of Parliament who questioned whether a future king should be appearing on stage with pop and rock stars. Some traditionalists argued that it was beneath the dignity of the monarchy, while others worried about the precedent it might set for future royal behavior. The pressure was immense, but William remained committed to the project, believing that it represented exactly the kind of modern, engaged monarchy that Britain needed. Swift found herself in an equally difficult position. Her management team was divided about the wisdom of associating so closely with the British royal family, especially given the various controversies that had surrounded them in recent years. Some worried that it could alienate fans who had strong opinions about the monarchy, while others saw it as an incredible opportunity to expand her influence and support important charitable causes. Swift had to navigate these concerns while also dealing with the technical challenges of adapting her pop sensibilities to a classic rock anthem. Bon Jovi, despite his decades of experience performing in front of massive audiences, admitted to feeling nervous about this particular collaboration. He had performed with presidents and celebrities before, but singing with a future king was something entirely different. The rock legend spent hours studying the song that he had written and performed thousands of times, trying to imagine how it would sound with three very different voices. He wanted to honor the original while creating something new and special. The trio's second meeting took place at a private recording studio in North London, away from the prying eyes of the media. This session was different from their first casual get-together at Abbey Road. Now they had to seriously work on the technical aspects of their performance, dealing with issues like vocal ranges, microphone techniques, and stage movement. Swift took the lead in organizing these technical rehearsals, drawing on her extensive experience in live performance production. William's biggest challenge was overcoming his lack of professional singing experience. While he could carry a tune and had a pleasant voice, he had never performed in front of more than a few friends at private parties. Swift and Bon Jovi worked patiently with him, teaching him breathing techniques, stage presence, and how to project his voice in a large venue. They were impressed by his dedication and willingness to learn, often staying hours past their scheduled rehearsal time to get things right. During one particularly intense practice session, William opened up about his motivations for taking on this project. He spoke about his frustration with the formal constraints of traditional royal duties and his desire to connect with people in a more authentic way. He shared stories about visiting homeless shelters and mental health facilities, where he had seen firsthand how music could provide comfort and hope to people in their darkest moments. His passion for the charitable aspect of their collaboration convinced both Swift and Bon Jovi that they were doing something truly meaningful. Swift began incorporating elements of her own musical style into the arrangement, adding subtle country and pop influences that complemented rather than competed with Bon Jovi's rock foundation. She suggested vocal harmonies that would highlight each performer's strengths, while creating moments where all three voices would blend together perfectly. Her experience in reimagining classic songs for her own albums proved invaluable in adapting Livin on a Prayer for their unique collaboration. The media attention continued to intensify as details about the upcoming performance began to leak out. Photographers camped outside every venue where the trio was known to be rehearsing, hoping to catch a glimpse of them together. Social media was flooded with speculation about how the performance would sound, with fans creating mashups and imagined versions of what their collaboration might produce. The hashtag Royal Rock began trending worldwide, generating both excitement and skepticism. Behind the scenes, the three performers were dealing with very personal pressures. William worried about disappointing his family and the British public if the performance didn't meet expectations. He had several difficult conversations with his father and other senior royals about the risks he was taking. Some supported his innovative approach, while others urged caution. The weight of representing the monarchy while stepping so far outside traditional boundaries was enormous. Swift was managing her own set of concerns about authenticity and artistic integrity. Her fans had come to expect a certain level of perfection from her performances, and collaborating with non-professional singers presented unique challenges. She spent countless hours working with sound engineers to ensure that the three voices would blend well together, using her technical knowledge to compensate for differences in training and experience. Her commitment to making the collaboration work showed her growth as both an artist and a collaborator. Bon Jovi found himself in the role of elder statesman, drawing on his 40-plus years in the music industry to guide and encourage his unlikely partners. He shared stories of his own early performances, including embarrassing mistakes and unexpected successes, to help William and Swift understand that perfection wasn't the goal. Instead, he emphasized the importance of authenticity and emotional connection with the audience. His wisdom and experience became the foundation that held their collaboration together. The trio began to develop a genuine friendship that extended beyond their musical collaboration. They met for private dinners where they discussed their shared interests in philanthropy, their experiences dealing with fame and public pressure, and their hopes for using their platforms to make a positive impact. These conversations deepened their understanding of each other and strengthened their commitment to the project. William surprised both Swift and Bon Jovi with his knowledge of music history and his genuine appreciation for different genres. He had been a closet music fan for years, collecting albums and attending concerts when his royal duties allowed. His insights into how music could serve as a bridge between different communities and generations impressed his collaborators and added intellectual depth to their artistic partnership. The charitable aspect of their performance began to take shape as they worked with various organizations to determine how the proceeds would be distributed. They decided to focus on three main areas: youth mental health services, homelessness prevention programs, and music education for underprivileged children. Each cause reflected the personal interests and experiences of the three performers, creating a meaningful connection between their collaboration and its purpose. As the performance date approached, they faced increased pressure from critics who questioned whether their collaboration was a serious artistic endeavor or merely a publicity stunt. Music journalists debated the merits of mixing royal protocol with rock and roll, while royal correspondents analyzed what this meant for the future of the monarchy. The three performers tried to ignore the criticism and focus on their preparation, but the constant scrutiny was exhausting. Their final major rehearsal took place at a private venue outside London, where they were joined by a full band and production crew. This was their first chance to experience what the actual performance would feel like, complete with lighting, sound effects, and choreographed movements. The energy in the room was electric as they ran through the song multiple times, fine-tuning every detail. During this rehearsal, something magical happened. All the technical preparation and individual concerns seemed to fall away, and the three voices found their perfect harmony. The combination of William's heartfelt sincerity, Swift's polished professionalism, and Bon Jovi's raw rock energy created something none of them had expected. The song became more than just a performance. It became a statement about the power of collaboration and the universal language of music. The crew and band members who witnessed this rehearsal later said they knew they were part of something special. The chemistry between the three performers was undeniable, and their commitment to both the music and the charitable cause gave the performance an emotional weight that went far beyond entertainment. Word began to spread through the music industry that something extraordinary was about to happen at the Royal Albert Hall. As they prepared to leave the rehearsal venue, William, Swift, and Bon Jovi stood together for a moment, looking at each other with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. They had come so far from that first conversation in the Palace Garden, building not just a musical collaboration, but a friendship that had changed all of them. Tomorrow night, they would step onto one of the world's most famous stages and share their months of work with 3,000 people and millions more watching around the world. The morning of the concert arrived with London experiencing one of its most beautiful summer days in years. The sun shone brightly over the Royal Albert Hall, where crews had been working since dawn to prepare for what many were calling the most unusual musical event of the decade. Inside the venue, sound technicians made final adjustments to the equipment, while security teams coordinated with royal protection officers to ensure everything would run smoothly for the evening's performance. William woke early at Kensington Palace, feeling a mixture of excitement and terror that he had never experienced before. This was unlike any royal engagement he had ever undertaken. There would be no prepared speeches, no carefully scripted interactions, just him, his voice, and 3,000 people waiting to hear whether a future king could really sing rock and roll. He spent the morning in quiet reflection, thinking about his mother, Princess Diana, and how she had always encouraged him to follow his heart, even when it meant breaking with tradition. Swift had barely slept, spending most of the night running through the song in her head and visualizing every moment of their performance. She had performed for much larger audiences before, but never with stakes that felt quite so personal. This wasn't just about her career or even about the charity they were supporting. It had become about proving that music could truly bring different worlds together. She ordered room service breakfast, but found herself too nervous to eat much, focusing instead on vocal warm-ups and meditation exercises. Bon Jovi, the veteran performer of the group, tried to maintain his usual pre-show routine, but even he admitted to feeling butterflies. In his hotel suite overlooking Hyde Park, he sat with his guitar, playing through Live on a Prayer one more time. The song had been with him for decades, performed in stadiums and arenas around the world, but tonight it would mean something entirely different. Tonight, it would represent the power of unlikely friendships and the courage to step outside one's comfort zone. The three performers met at the Royal Albert Hall in the early afternoon for their final sound check. The historic venue was buzzing with activity as technicians, security personnel, and venue staff prepared for the evening. When William arrived, accompanied by a small security detail, he was struck by how different the atmosphere felt from his usual royal engagements. There was an energy here that was both professional and creative, reminding him of why he had wanted to be part of this project in the first place. Swift arrived shortly after William, her team of backup singers and musicians in tow. She had insisted on bringing her own sound engineer to work alongside the venue's technical crew, ensuring that the vocal blend they had worked so hard to achieve would translate perfectly to the massive space. As she walked onto the stage for the first time since their private rehearsal, she felt the weight of the evening ahead, but also a deep sense of pride in what they had accomplished together. Bon Jovi's entrance was characteristically low-key, but confident. Despite his decades of experience, he took time to walk around the entire venue, checking sightlines and acoustics from different perspectives. He chatted with the crew members, many of whom recognized him from previous performances, but noticed that even these seasoned professionals seemed excited about tonight's unique collaboration. The rock legend's calm presence helped settle the nerves of his less experienced partners. The sound check revealed both the challenges and the magic of their collaboration. In the vast space of the Royal Albert Hall, their three voices had to work harder to find their harmony. But when they achieved it, the result was even more powerful than in smaller rehearsal spaces. The venue's famous acoustics seemed to enhance the emotional impact of their performance, adding depth and resonance to lyrics that had already moved audiences for decades. During a break in the sound check, the three performers sat together in one of the Royal Albert Hall's ornate backstage rooms, surrounded by portraits of legendary musicians who had graced this stage before them. They talked about their hopes for the evening and their gratitude for the journey that had brought them together. William expressed his amazement at how much he had learned about music and performance, while Swift and Bon Jovi shared their admiration for his willingness to embrace such a challenging project. As the afternoon progressed, guests began arriving for the pre-concert reception. The audience was unlike any typical concert crowd, featuring members of the royal family, government officials, celebrities from various industries, and representatives from the charities that would benefit from the evening's proceeds. The mix of formal attire and casual concert clothing created a unique atmosphere that reflected the boundary-crossing nature of the event itself. Behind the scenes, William underwent his final preparations with help from Swift's styling team, who had worked to create a look that was both royal appropriate and rock concert ready. He wore a dark blue suit with subtle modifications that would allow him to move freely on stage, paired with dress shoes that had been specially designed for performance. The transformation from formal prince to rock performer was subtle but significant. Swift's preparation was more elaborate, involving costume changes and makeup designed to complement the theatrical lighting that would illuminate their performance. She had chosen an outfit that paid homage to classic rock style while maintaining her own artistic identity. Her team of stylists and musicians worked with military precision, knowing that every detail would be scrutinized by millions of viewers around the world. Bon Jovi's routine was the most relaxed of the three, drawing on decades of pre-performance rituals that had served him well throughout his career. He spent time warming up his voice and loosening his muscles, but also took moments to check in with William and Swift, offering encouragement and sharing last-minute technical advice. His role as the experience guide for his partners had become one of the most rewarding aspects of the entire collaboration. The concert began with performances by several other artists who had volunteered their time for the charitable cause. Each act built energy in the venue, while giving the three headliners time to make final preparations. Watching from the wings, William was amazed by the professional level of the production and the enthusiasm of the audience. He began to understand why Swift and Bon Jovi had dedicated their lives to live performance. As their moment approached, the three performers gathered in a small backstage area for a final moment together. They joined hands in a circle, sharing words of encouragement and gratitude for the experience they had shared over the past months. The friendship that had developed between them was evident in their easy interaction and mutual support. Whatever happened on stage, they knew they had already succeeded in creating something meaningful together. The introduction of their performance was handled by a well-known television presenter who explained the charitable purpose of the evening and the unlikely story of how the three performers had come together. As their names were announced, the audience erupted in applause that could be felt throughout the historic building. The sound was unlike anything William had experienced before, a wall of appreciation and anticipation that was both thrilling and overwhelming. Walking onto the stage together, the three performers were struck by the sight of 3,000 people on their feet, applauding before they had sung a single note. The energy in the room was electric, with audience members ranging from teenagers to senior citizens, all united in their excitement for this unprecedented collaboration. The lighting created an intimate atmosphere despite the large venue, making the massive space feel like a gathering of friends. As they took their positions on stage, with Bon Jovi at the center flanked by William and Swift, they could see familiar faces in the audience. William's family members were clearly visible in the royal box, while Swift's parents had flown in from America to witness this special moment. The support of their loved ones gave all three performers an extra boost of confidence as they prepared to begin. The opening chords of Livin' on a Prayer rang out through the Royal Albert Hall, played by a band that had rehearsed the arrangement countless times. As the familiar music filled the space, something magical happened. The nerves and pressure seemed to fall away, replaced by the pure joy of making music with friends. The months of preparation had led to this moment, and all three performers were ready to give everything they had to the song that had brought them together. The opening guitar riff of Livin' on a Prayer filled the Royal Albert Hall, and for a moment, time seemed suspended. 3,000 people held their breath as Bon Jovi stepped forward to begin the song that had become an anthem of hope for generations. His voice, weathered by decades of performance, but still powerful and commanding, delivered the opening lines with the authority of someone who had lived every word. The audience immediately recognized the magic happening before them. This wasn't just a celebrity collaboration. It was something far more meaningful. When Swift joined for the second verse, her clear, melodic voice created a beautiful contrast with Bon Jovi's rock-seasoned delivery. She had adapted her usual pop styling to fit the rock arrangement, but her natural musicality shone through every note. The way she moved on stage, confident yet respectful of the song's original spirit, showed her deep understanding of performance and her commitment to making this collaboration authentic rather than gimmicky. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Prince William stepped forward for his verse, and the venue fell into complete silence. His voice, untrained but sincere, carried an emotional weight that professional technique couldn't replicate. He sang about holding on to what they had and making it through together, and somehow his position as future king gave those words additional meaning. He wasn't just singing about personal struggles. He was speaking to an entire nation about facing challenges with determination and unity. The chorus brought all three voices together for the first time, and the harmony they achieved sent chills through the audience. Williams' earnest tenor, Swift's polished soprano, and Bon Jovi's powerful rock voice created a blend that shouldn't have worked but somehow created something greater than the sum of its parts. The different backgrounds and experiences of the three performers added layers of meaning to lyrics that had already inspired millions of people around the world. As the song progressed, something extraordinary happened in the audience. People began singing along, not just with the familiar chorus, but with every word. The Royal Albert Hall became a massive choir, with 3,000 voices joining the three on stage in a celebration of music's power to unite. Members of Parliament sat next to teenagers, foreign diplomats sang alongside local charity workers, and members of the royal family harmonized with rock music fans, all brought together by a song about hope and perseverance. The instrumental break gave each performer a chance to shine individually. Bon Jovi delivered a guitar solo that reminded everyone why he had been a rock icon for 4 decades, his fingers dancing across the strings with the muscle memory of thousands of performances. Swift added vocal flourishes that showcased her range and creativity, taking the song to places it had never been before. William, though not playing an instrument, commanded his part of the stage with growing confidence, his presence adding gravitas to the rock and roll spectacle. Watching from the wings, crew members and other performers found themselves deeply moved by what they were witnessing. Many had worked countless concerts over the years, but this felt different. The combination of the historic venue, the unlikely collaboration, and the charitable purpose had created an atmosphere that transcended entertainment and became something approaching spiritual. Camera operators forgot their professional distance and found themselves singing along while they filmed. The bridge of the song featured a moment that had been carefully choreographed during rehearsals, but felt completely natural in performance. The three performers moved closer together, their voices intertwining in harmonies that represented not just musical collaboration, but the friendship that had developed between them. William placed his hand on Bon Jovi's shoulder while Swift reached out to both of them, creating a visual representation of the unity the song celebrated. In the royal box, members of William's family watched with a mixture of pride and amazement. Some had been skeptical about this project from the beginning, worried about the risks to royal dignity and protocol. But seeing William on stage, confident and passionate, connecting with the audience in a way that formal royal duties rarely allowed, they began to understand what he had been trying to achieve. This wasn't about abandoning royal tradition. It was about finding new ways to serve and inspire. Swift's parents, watching their daughter perform with a future king and a rock legend, marveled at the journey that had brought her to this moment. They had supported her musical dreams from childhood, but even they couldn't have imagined that those dreams would lead to a collaboration that was breaking down barriers and raising money for important causes. The pride in their faces was evident to everyone around them in the audience. The final chorus exploded with energy that seemed to lift the roof off the Royal Albert Hall. All three performers were giving everything they had, their individual voices now completely unified in the song's message of hope. The audience was on its feet, singing, clapping, and some were even crying as they witnessed something they knew they would remember for the rest of their lives. The power of the moment was overwhelming, transcending music and becoming a statement about human connection and shared purpose. As the song reached its climactic conclusion, the three performers stood together at the front of the stage, their arms around each other's shoulders, delivering the final Livin' on a prayer with voices that seemed to shake the ancient building. The lighting created an almost ethereal effect around them, while the audience's singing created a wall of sound that merged with their voices in perfect unity. The final note rang out and hung in the air for what seemed like an eternity before the audience erupted in the most sustained ovation in the Royal Albert Hall's long history. People were on their feet, applauding, cheering, and calling for more. The three performers, exhausted but exhilarated, took their bows together, clearly moved by the response they had received. What had started as an ambitious charity project had become a cultural moment that would be talked about for decades. But the performance wasn't quite over. In a spontaneous moment that hadn't been rehearsed, Bon Jovi gestured for the audience to sing the chorus one more time. Without any musical accompaniment, 3,000 voices rose together in an a cappella version that was even more powerful than the original performance. The three performers stood quietly, listening to their song being returned to them by an audience that had made it their own. When the singing finally ended and the last echoes faded away, the silence was profound and moving. For a moment, everyone in the venue seemed to understand that they had been part of something that went beyond entertainment. They had witnessed the power of music to bring together people from completely different worlds and create something beautiful and meaningful. The standing ovation continued for nearly 10 minutes, with the audience refusing to let the magic of the moment end. William, Swift, and Bon Jovi stood together on stage, waving and expressing their gratitude, but also clearly processing the emotional impact of what they had just experienced. They had known their performance would be special, but none of them had anticipated the overwhelming response and the profound sense of connection they felt with the audience. As they finally left the stage, The three performers were surrounded by well-wishers, crew members, and other artists who wanted to congratulate them on what many were already calling the performance of the year. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came when they reached the backstage area and simply stood together in silence, processing what they had just accomplished. They had set out to raise money for charity, but they had ended up creating something much more significant, a moment of pure human connection that had touched everyone who witnessed it. The immediate aftermath of the performance was unlike anything any of the three collaborators had experienced before. Within minutes of leaving the stage, social media exploded with videos, photos, and emotional reactions from audience members and viewers around the world. The hashtag Royal Rock trended globally within an hour, but more importantly, hashtag Livin on a Prayer began trending alongside messages of hope and inspiration from people who had been moved by the performance. Backstage at the Royal Albert Hall, William, Swift, and Bon Jovi found themselves in a whirlwind of interviews and congratulations. Media representatives from around the world wanted to capture their immediate reactions, while fellow performers and celebrities queued up to express their admiration. Yet despite all the attention, the three friends managed to steal a few quiet moments together, sharing the surreal experience of having just created something that felt much larger than any of them had anticipated. The charitable impact was immediate and substantial. The concert had raised over £2 million in ticket sales and donations, but the publicity generated by their performance led to additional contributions that quadrupled that amount within the first week. Youth mental health services across the UK reported increased funding applications and volunteer interest. Homelessness charities experienced a surge in both donations and people offering to help. Music education programs found themselves with waiting lists of students inspired by what they had witnessed. William returned to his royal duties the following week, but everything had changed. The performance had shown both him and the public a different side of what modern royalty could be. His subsequent engagements were met with increased enthusiasm from crowds who saw him not just as a future king, but as someone willing to step outside traditional boundaries to make a positive impact. His confidence in public speaking improved dramatically, drawing on the stage presence he had discovered during those months of preparation. The royal family's reaction was more positive than William had dared hope. While some traditionalists within the establishment continued to express concerns about protocol and dignity, the overwhelming public response made it clear that William had successfully connected with people in a way that traditional royal engagements rarely achieved. His father, King Charles, privately expressed pride in William's courage and innovation, recognizing that the monarchy needed exactly this kind of fresh approach to remain relevant. Swift found that the collaboration had enriched her artistry in unexpected ways. Working with William and Bon Jovi had challenged her to think about music's power beyond entertainment and commercial success. She began incorporating more charitable elements into her tours and started collaborating with other artists from different genres and backgrounds. The experience had shown her that some of her most meaningful work could come from stepping outside her comfort zone. Her fans' reaction to the collaboration was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing pride that their favorite artist was using her platform for such meaningful purposes. The performance videos continued to be shared months later, often accompanied by stories from people who had been inspired to overcome their own challenges. Swift realized that the collaboration